I loved the Cube. It was a black box experimental theater space with an incredible grid on the ceiling that you could hang stuff from, like your cardboard Millennium Falcon or inflatable elephant. It was a very creative space.
Yeah. And I remember you walked in and you sat down at the table. I think the table had the tree in the middle of it, but it might not have yet. Did it have it already? We had cut a table in half and put a tree in the middle of the table so that we'd get the dappled light. So there was some sense of outsideness.
That was a beautiful, beautiful space. Yeah.
You sat down and we had an idea together, but I didn't know who each other were yet. And it was an idea in this programming language we were making called Scratch, led by Mitch Resnick at MIT. Mm-hmm. And we were students there. And we both had kind of the same idea, which I think is characteristic of how we've worked together over the years. If people don't know, we've worked together since the moment we're talking about, more or less.
15 years ago. I was thinking about that earlier today too. Scratch had just launched to the world.
Yeah.
And people were...
people were making projects and some of them needed a memory, but there was no memory in Scratch. Like right now in Scratch, there's a way to keep track of a bunch of variables called an array.
A list in Scratch.
It's called a list in Scratch. And there was no way to do that at the time. You couldn't keep track of what happened in the past, or not very easily at all. So I feel like we both had the idea that we wanted to try writing down colors, storing numbers as colors on the screen. So we would just poop out little colors on the screen in a big long line, and then we could read them back out later.
Right. So there was a scheme where different colors would mean different numbers. And you could make the little characters in Scratch are called sprites. You could make it walk across and put down, red, red, blue, orange, orange, blue, or whatever. And that would mean a certain number or series of numbers.
Yeah, and that was a simple concept, but in a way it's like emblematic of the type of collaboration we've had where we're like, let's have numbers be colors, or let's have something be something. Mm-hmm. And let's cross senses or cross word. You're not supposed to store a number as a color. It's not a crazy idea.
But it pushed the boundaries of what people thought Scratch was capable of. And I've always loved doing that.
And then we tried to do weird stuff like sound wave matching using reading colors off the screen, just like weird like machine learning and computer vision stuff in a janky way with our fake array made of colors.
But what did that first one do? I think it might have been something that I made originally. So we had that idea to store a sequence of numbers as colors. And I used that to turn the numbers into a little drawing program. So it would control the sprite moving around on the screen to draw geometric patterns.
Oh, that's right. It would do spirals and stuff.
Mandala kind of patterns. And then you came along and said, oh, this is a dance. And so we added sounds to it, first of all.
Right.
And then the sprite became a body, a person. And so then we renamed the project Dances for Universal Peace.
Right, inspired by the Sufis.
Which you had just experienced newly, I think.
That's right.
And I think at that time also, I don't know what you were talking about. You know what I mean? I was intrigued and curious about that kind of stuff, but it felt further away from my experience, certainly than it does now.
Well, and 15 years ago, the idea of meditation was in the middle of its arc where it was like, this isn't terrible, but it's not accepted. Whereas maybe 50 years before that, it might have been, what the heck? No. And
I think for me, I was aware of that stuff, but
yeah.
Felt like, oh, that's not who I am. That's not my expertise. And one of the things that was amazing to me about you is that, you came in with your Paisley surf shorts and that is who you were. And I thought, wow, the conversation between us expands my mind in this whole set of directions that I wasn't thinking in before.
And mine too. It was really a union of two circles, and it allowed my mind to go into some of the spaces your mind was in.
We're so lucky that we had that.
I think it's a weird matchup. It's I haven't had it the same collaborative Speheric expansion, like mind space expansion, or unioning with anyone else in the same way. And what it gives me is some special channel into seeing new thought spaces almost firsthand. I guess it's not literally firsthand, but it feels like one step away from firsthand. And that is exhilarating as a thinker, because now I've increased the space I can see, for example.
It's so true. And I think there's an essential ingredient too that a lot of what we do creatively is conversation, but I think it's really crucially like grounded in not just seeing and thinking and talking, but doing and making and playing.